Had a great meeting with my man,
Go ahead.
um, had a great meeting with my friends with Man in the Mirror this morning.
Oh, yes, it's Friday. Ah, great.
And
So when you do that, Geoffrey, how do you do that? Is it a big group or do you break out into smaller groups?
so we still have a small group.
Okay,
We've got about 12 guys, and we usually have at least 8 or 10, that are there every week.
so you have a group as if you're at a table.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. No, I mean, that's excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
John
ideal.
Anderson is still our leader. And we've got mostly guys from the local area, but we have one guy, Cam from Malaysia,
Okay,
that joins us, and he was just here in America, or he's here now, and about 5 of us got together and had lunch with him.
okay.
We could meet him personally.
And he was where? I'm sorry,
Malaysia.
Malaysia. Okay.
Yeah. So that was fun. That happened this week.
Oh,
And
wow.
Tuesday, I think we had lunch with him. And anyway, this group of guys has been a great source of comfort and blessing and encouragement to me. I think um, we get a video of whatever the meeting topic is, which is
Right,
about 15 or 20 minutes. We we get a worksheet that we can download for our discussion with questions on it, and we look at that before we get together.
right.
So we have heard a short message, and then when we get together, we discuss whatever the questions are, that are on the worksheet. So uh, we have a whole hour.
Right.
Most meetings you spend at least half of it, listening to a message or something before you even start talking, and you only have 30 minutes to talk about it.
Well, and that doesn't include the transition times, entering the meeting, going for, I mean, how long has your group been meeting? This,
Oh, wow. We've a few years, I think,
right.
a couple of years at
No,
least.
that's an excellent design because I know it usually takes, some people want to build a group and develop trust and they want to do it in 4 weeks, but it's more likely that you'll develop trust in 4 years than 4 weeks.
Excuse me. You're right. You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, because the
And
design you described it really well, is is the design that I've spoken to some people about how to design church. In other words,
uh-huh.
give me the message in advance.
Yeah.
And actually the message should be designed around questions from your audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just a simple, I mean, it is definitely network marketing. The questions that will be answered, I mean, you give me the sermon in advance, just like you described, and it's
Hmm.
based on questions from the previous week, or questions anyway, it's based on questions from your audience. And then when you get together, it's a discussion, it's a Q&A.
Yeah.
And that's where lives are changed, and that's how you make impact.
Yep.
And most churches are still performance based.
Yeah.
You have your weekly performance, and it's not that good because it cannot compete with Amazon Video and Netflix.
Well, that is changing
Yes.
because of COVID.
Oh, it must change.
It's radically changed. Our church is, well, most church, I don't know. Do you still follow Carrie Newhoff?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I listen to him actually daily because I get his podcast, and then during the walk time that I have to and from my office, he's usually the one that's he's among three or four
Yeah,
that's in my ears when I do that walking.
yeah. Well, you can hear from him. You probably heard from him the impact that the COVID has had on the church, and
Oh, yes.
our church is certainly part of that. And the church has now become what we call hybrid.
Right.
Um, it's you know, church. Some people are moving and going back to church, to live church. Others are not, and
Right.
and so the church is having to adapt to that, and realize that if they don't get with the program in terms of digital church, they're going to end up dying.
Yeah. There'll be history, and the way things change today, they change much more quickly than they ever have. And you just got to embrace the fact that they're two and they're different, and neither is better than the other.
Mhm.
But your audience tells you, if you don't deliver what you want me to receive and deliver it to my phone, I'm not available.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So actually, what has happened, is it's good in a way. God has speeded up the the change for the church to technology, because they've had to survive.
Oh, well, and I look at it, my language is a little bit different. And you might agree, you might not agree, is that we get to change. God gave us, it wasn't an obstacle, he gave us a tremendous opportunity. And the business entrepreneurs, they changed quickly March 2020.
Yeah,
And I'm just glad to see the church changing. But it's kind of, people will ask me the question, well, which is better, in-person church or digital church? Well, they ask me, is digital church better? I'll say yes. Is in-person church better? Yes.
that's right.
Because they serve different purposes, but your audience, and I have data to prove it, at least my audience, age 55 plus, is about 97% digital most of the time.
Uh-huh.
That's a really clear message
Yeah.
that you have to hear. You just can't force me to come to your church to see your weekly performance that has about 10 minutes of value to me.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
true.
I even, oh my goodness,
Well,
but no,
I've-
but that's good to hear your evaluation,
Yeah, I mean,
how you're seeing it.
we've experienced it personally, and at Rethink Life Church, and um, Barbara and I, most of the time since you and I met regularly, have been attending church. Like my brother Steve is interim pastor in a church in North Carolina.
Yeah, I saw him
Uh,
once. Yes.
and I plugged in and was able to attend his church
Right.
or listen to his messages. I basically just kind of skimmed over the music and got to his message because I wanted to hear what he was talking about and stuff like that.
Right.
So
Right.
I enjoyed that connection with him and the group that he was working with there. He's about finished that now, but he got anyway. Our church, we just started our fall small group,
Right. Okay.
and Dale Hogan. I think you remember me talking about Dale
Yes.
Hogan and Jackie. Um, we found a couple that hosted it that live about 20 minutes from us,
Right.
and they're hosting it in their home. They've got a beautiful home, and he is a Vietnam war veteran,
Right.
and he was um, he was shot in Vietnam with a bazooka
My goodness.
and blew off the lower part of his body, his legs, and
Wow.
it hit below his umbilical cord, blew off the whole bottom part of his body. And
Wow.
for somehow they were able to get him medical help and get him to, off away from the scene, and they saved his life
Oh,
basically.
he should have died in about 2 minutes due to blood loss.
Yeah,
He
I
should
mean
have died.
it was a miracle,
Yes.
anyway, he it, he they hosted the meeting the other night, and he basically shared part of his story with the group,
Right.
and we had probably 10 or 12 people there, and we got a few more that are coming. So we had, and that was a live group at
Right.
their home, and this guy's story just blew us away. I mean, he is got a book.
Right.
He's written a book, and I asked him and got a copy of his book while I was there, and I'm
Right.
about halfway through that now. And he basically is just, his message is, how do you live through pain?
Yeah. Yeah. That's I've met a few vets like that, and mainly through 12-step programs,
Uh-huh.
because that's an easy place to quickly go from become an addict,
Oh
pain
yeah,
medication, depression, anger.
sure.
And he is one of those rare people. It's not like we had the best technology in 1968 to get to him.
I know. I know, that's right.
He would have been in a body bag in 5 minutes or
Yeah.
less,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
somebody would have walked past him. A medic would have walked past him and not made an effort, because there's
Yeah.
only half a body there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah. Well,
almost.
he's very descriptive. He's a great writer, and
Yeah, good.
he really knows how to communicate his message. I mean, it's a professional book. It's really kind of blows me away. The other book that we're studying in the group is a revised version of Rick Warren's book, The Purpose Driven Life.
Right, right.
And we're meeting. We're going to be meeting 6 times, and we're reading like 6 or 7 chapters each week. Each time we're meeting every other week,
Right.
so we've got 6 or 7 chapters of the book to read and digest, before each meeting. And the book has videos that go with it. And
Okay.
his new book was fascinating. It's got every chapter has I don't know you'll know the technology term, the thing that you scan with your camera, with your camera
Yeah,
on your phone.
a
What do you call
QR
that?
QR code.
Yeah, QR code. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It
Each
stands
chapter has a QR code, so you scan it and watch a short video of
right.
that chapter before you read it. And that's the first book I've ever seen that has the QR codes built into the book.
Yeah, that it'd be worth your time too, just to look on the internet and see if there's a Facebook group. In other words, the way to discuss this book is if he has a Facebook group dedicated to it, where there's a lot of great information and coaching occurs on Facebook groups.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because you can have a topic, and let's say 5 or 6 people that are good in that area of the topic respond, and then you can go to that Facebook group and search for the topic and get
Yeah.
directly to those comment threads.
Yeah.
And
Well, this book, he deals with purpose of life
right.
better than anybody I've ever read.
Yeah. I mean, that book has been long standing.
Oh yeah, it's probably millions of copies of it everywhere.
But I mean, it's been around since what, the 70s, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Books don't normally have that kind of shelf life.
I know it. But he's written the purpose-driven church too.
Right. I know that. Yeah, it's one of those that has, grown in many ways. I
Yeah.
mean, I wouldn't doubt that there are 12 to 15 different flavors of that book.
Yeah.
For younger people, teenagers.
And the chapters, he reminded me that, it reminds you that without God, there is really no purpose for life.
Right.
And the challenge that you get right, he gives us right up front was that in the video in our meeting the other night, and is that life is not about you.
Right.
It's about God. And just, I don't, for some reason, the way he presents it is kind of sobering. It's like, oh, okay.
Well, these are sobering times. Just by the way, in case the screen goes blank, it's because, after we quit meeting, I went to the free version of Zoom, not the paid version. So we could be disconnected at 40.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Okay.
so you're aware of that.
Okay. Well, I can buzz you. I
well,
still have the other, so I can buzz you.
It's not me being
next
rude.
time.
If I want to be rude, you'll know.
Okay.
Yeah, but
do you mind if we switch gears here? I'd like to ask you about you. Tell me about you.
The reason, and by the way, with your permission, I'm recording, and I'm recording for my sake only to review. And it's because the last time we talked, you were talking to me about my profile, my voice, and you had a lot of good ideas. And so what I did is immediately I was walking at that time, and then I sat and took notes. And I thought, well, why don't we just have a Zoom call so that I don't have to be bothered with notes, and then I can go back and
that's great. That's
no,
great.
I mean, that's why we have technology to make our lives easier. But I am doing I'm on what's called a 30-day sprint. I'm doing a daily video log on Facebook, and my mother and I did that for about 340 days.
Yeah.
And so, but it's still a lot of work, and I'm trying to develop a process. That's behind the scenes, and I'm just on day 3, but I just want I call it a 30-day sprint, because while I'm doing that, I looked at it today, and I looked at the data, and I want to more clearly define my audience. And then also want to more clearly define, for example, what a lot of people don't realize, Geoffrey, is, and what I'm doing is I put $4 in each video. So $1 a day for 4 days, and that gives you data. I mean, I'm doing that for the data, not to brag about number of views, but number of views is part of the data. You can do that and get 1, 2, oh, I don't know. I think one of them just finished with about 300 views. Just,
Mm-hmm.
but so as you do that and you build that, you build traffic. But I'm doing that so that I can run a number of different tests and collect the data. And I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, is that I need to focus more on the thumbnail image. Now, are you familiar with when I say the thumbnail image?
Yeah, I think, I think,
Well, on YouTube, I had a picture of you and me
yes, gotcha. Yeah,
with the title.
yes,
And because that is your first and only opportunity to grab my attention,
yes,
the image must pop
yes,
and stop
yes,
so that you'll spend half a second reading 5 or 6 words.
yeah.
And then that determines whether or not you tap and watch.
Yeah, you sent me those, I think, and I liked what you sent.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So what I'm doing is, I mean, I'm giving you the long answer, but you ask, how am I doing? Because I realize that, views can be misleading. They can be like an ego stat. And you think, wow, I got 200 views, 300 views. But, many of those, and not many, most are 3-second views,
Uh-huh. Yes.
which means it just appeared on their phone and they scanned past it. So, having said all that, I'm going to focus a lot more on my audience, and I'm promoting to women only, specifically
Okay.
because I building a program around the Book of Esther.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and it's people have an interest; they've already expressed an interest, but um, so women only, and then I'm getting more and more defined as far as the age group. So that's going to be one of the tests I run different
Oh,
age
good.
groups.
Mm-hmm.
And then physical location, one of the tests is 14 states, which is when you look at the US of A, it's 14 states that are in the same time zone. And I did
Mm-hmm.
that intentionally in case I have webinars, like you and I are 1 hour difference. But it doesn't seem like a big deal. But then I got our appointment confused with mom's hair appointment.
Oh, okay.
No, it's one small thing.
Yes.
But when you deal with busy people, so I did that intentionally. So I'm going to broaden the audience to the US of A and then globally and just see how that impacts the other data. And then the
Good.
other split tests I'm going to run will be based on images because I have some images of me with children in Florida where, I mean, the children are putting Play-Doh on my bald head. Because,
Okay.
I was the crazy guy there where I broke the ice for every child.
Yes.
And so anyway, I'm running the daily blog as a discipline to get a system that's incredibly streamlined. So start to finish with the description, with the posting, everything. I mean, it's really, really tight. If you can do it in an hour and a half, that's tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't realize the backstory behind, and these videos they're in the range about 2.5 minutes or less.
Uh-huh.
So and that's what I'm doing, but I'm doing that, and it's not a big price to pay for the data because the data will be detailed and specific to me and my message,
Yes.
and which
Yeah.
is maybe in hindsight, that's something I could have done 3 or 4 years ago. But
Yeah.
the more I
Yeah.
look at it, the more I thought, you really need to know that. And we have technology, and I'm good enough with technology that I can pretty much pinpoint that.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
based on what I've just told you, I can, and at something I can afford. Because
Mm-hmm.
normally people pay $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 for a consultant. What I just described to you takes time,
I
but
know.
it's only $120. When
Oh,
people think,
wow.
wow, that's a lot to spend on Facebook advertising for a month, but it's when you look at the design, $4 a day, and then the videos overlap. The
Sure.
one I did today overlaps with the other ones, but then every time you collect data, you have new
Yeah.
data,
Yeah.
and you have to do it consistently for the data to make sense. I mean, doing this weekly, I don't think would give me good data.
Yeah, got you.
So, and that's what I'm
Okay.
doing. And after you said what you said, I just need to take my voice and simplify it and talk the way I talk and talk about what's on my mind and just not worry about anything else.
Yeah.
Like what's funny is a man approached me today at Panera Bread, and today, while he approached me, I put all my thoughts in Evernote so I can get them together so that when it's when the camera light blinks, I'm just go time.
Yeah.
Bam,
Yeah.
bam, 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 bam. See you, bye. 90 seconds later.
Yes.
Try to. So, but today's topic was just say no. Learn how to say no, because
Okay.
whenever I say yes to you, I'm saying no to 5 of my items.
Yes.
You know that thought.
Yes.
And sadly, generally, when I say yes to you or someone else, I mean you generically, I'm
Uh-huh.
saying yes to you because you procrastinated
Uh-huh.
or because there's a task you don't want to handle. So I'm saying yes to your urgent matter,
Yes.
because your pants are on fire, but I'm saying no to all of my important goals.
Yes.
So today's topic was about just say no, and then tomorrow's topic is going to be just say yes.
Yeah.
But but the thing is, the man that approached me is very interesting. You would like him a lot because he was talking about intentionality. He uses a lot of your language, and he's
Mhm.
started a Bible study at Panera Bread, and he was telling me about the process of being intentional about it, and that his pastor challenged him and encouraged him. So, and I thought, well, as I'm writing, just say no. Tomorrow's topic is going to be just say yes.
Oh,
Say yes
okay.
to that challenging opportunity that makes you grow,
Yeah.
but
Oh, good.
be intentional. So, I mean, that's a long answer to, how am I doing? Is my voice is going to be my voice. And what I say doesn't have to make sense to the person in front of me. It just has to make sense to an audience of 1,000 or 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And it
Well,
just has to get to their phone at a time where it's relevant.
yeah.
Like and it's there was I filmed. Yeah, I'll get to your question. Just hold it. I filmed down a steep hill. It's behind 2 recycling. I told him, his name is David. I said, David, this is funny because you told me you took charge and you did something where you're uncomfortable. And I have people telling me all the time, I can't do this and I can't do that. And I said, I saw the spot. God said, here it is. Here's your studio. And it's 2 dumpsters, 2 recycling dumpsters.
Mhm.
And then right next to it is a garbage dumpster and a grease pit.
Okay.
And then you walk down the steep hill through the weeds, and I stand in trash.
Okay.
And it's odoriferous, but you can't smell it on the video. But behind me, if you've seen the picture, is this beautiful grove of trees. And they provide me with perfect light all the time. I'm in a shadow, so I don't have any dark spots or light spots in my face. I don't have to manage the light. I'm in near perfect sound because there are 2 busy streets and a busy highway near me. And sometimes the wind is blowing and that destroys the audio and the video. So I have almost an amphitheater, so to speak.
Mhm. Yeah.
And with the trees behind me, and the only thing you might hear occasionally is helicopters because there's a major medical center within a mile. But
Mhm.
I mean, I just think it's so funny that your best opportunities happen behind 4 trash barrels.
Hmm. Wow. That's
Isn't that
that's
hilarious?
that's crazy.
And then we're well, we might have one interruption here. There's somebody coming. My mom's hairdresser's coming, but the door's unlocked. I said ask her just to come in. So, but so my voice is my voice. One video is today's was just say no. tomorrow's is going to be just say yes.
Oh, it's
But,
good.
but you've got to be, hey, Molly, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Just a minute.
Are you
Okay.
ready?
Molly, let's just make sure, let's take out the hearing aids before we cut and sniff.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I just want to remind you, because that'd be an easy thing to forget.
Yeah, that's fine. Are you ready?
Everything's set up in there, Molly, and lights are on. And okay,
perfect.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry for that, Geoffrey.
No problem.
But because I need to be more authentic, because on those two topics, I can speak strongly. And
Sure.
I have great stories around not saying no because I want to
Sure.
be liked, and
Sure.
not saying yes because the challenge was too great. And
Sure.
I might get outside my comfort zone.
Yeah. Yes.
And so the point I want to make it very clear. Thank you for your input, because I just thought I've got to see myself differently. Like the little kids at Casa de Paz, I had a bald, shiny head. So
Yes.
it was great for magic markers and permanent markers. And all I had to do is the next 3 days live with a smiley face on my head. So, what is wrong with living like that?
That's what uniquely is you. And
Right.
we talked a little bit about your brand. What is your brand? That's your brand.
Yes.
I mean, when I think about you, I think about you sitting in that water tank with that outfit on and that crazy tie.
Oh, yeah.
And the picture that you have with me on YouTube together, you have my straight picture with your crazy picture. That's your brand,
And see, and those need to be, I need to test those for my thumbnail.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that has to be tested, because my message has not changed. Like
Yeah.
the major point in the story of Esther is that maybe you were made for just such a time as this. In
Yes.
that 10 chapters, God is not mentioned one time,
Yeah.
but his divine presence is there.
Yeah.
And in that chapter, I see you and me. And guess which you are. You and I are the same character. Guess which character we are in there. You tell me. Oh, we're Mordecai.
Okay.
Marty.
Okay.
Punching people, shoving people, empowering people.
Yeah.
And they get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But then
Yes.
Esther, through a serendipitous chain of events over which she had zero control,
Uh-huh.
was in the perfect spot at the perfect time.
Yeah.
But she needed that one guy he didn't even whisper. He said, perhaps you don't want to do this, but as sure as you don't want to do this, your entire nation will die. And don't kid yourself, you will die with them.
Yes.
And her response was, perhaps I was made for just such a time as this. And the part that's never preached, and if I die, I die. Do you realize that's right behind there?
No, I didn't remember that. I haven't read it for a while.
They don't preach it. I don't know why, but and if I die, I die. So I look at myself and think, what is my version of dying? There are very few people that put a gun at my head lately. But when I put my ego on the line, that scares me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a message to you and anyone else willing to hear, is that, well, what's more important, your mission or your ego?
Whoa.
When you say no to the big challenge, you are telling me, I am telling you, my ego is more important than the mission.
Right.
And the coach, Mordecai, brings that right to her face.
That's so good.
And don't kid yourself. If you don't take action, the entire nation will be killed. There's a plan in place.
Yes.
And you will be killed right along with them, my dear queen.
Wow. What a
And
lesson.
yeah, and what I see is it's just based on my history. I get some messages and things from people that I coached, and I get up 25 years later, and one or two just choke me up and make me want to
Excuse me.
cry.
Mm-hmm.
Where they said, "Dear coach, you are the reason that I started this business."
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
thought that's a real skill, and you can't discount real experience, regardless of degrees or lack of degrees behind my name. I need to use that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I don't know what, well, I do know why, because the creator told me, said, you know, this is your genius zone. You have been good at inspiring people, especially women. And you and I have had this conversation about trauma and stress and depression. The
Mhm.
women in this nation right now are the most stressed audience you've ever seen, even if you and I don't see it.
Yes.
They are doing the homeschooling, they're holding the family together. They're doing so much
Yeah.
for so little thanks. And they have tremendous skill sets. It's just, oh, I wish you could see some of the women I know through my through product launch formula. You mentioned something, I had been collecting these audios and videos of Zoom calls, and you mentioned the conversation you have with these men, and a person brought this to someone who's trains virtual assistants, and they said, I have hours and hours of detailed Q&A sessions regarding health, and I want to break it up into 5-minute, 6-minute, 3-minute segments, which seemed like an impossibility. And then a person I've referenced to you, her name is Timby Becca, who has trained virtual assistants. They're all women who've been in compromised positions,
Mm-hmm.
have only been able to make a living via sex.
Okay.
Not only, but that
Yes.
was almost always the criteria during an interview. They were all
Yeah.
degraded. So anyway, she presented that to her team, and both parties, the client and the coach, said, I don't think this can be done. Her team got it done in about a week. And they
Hmm.
thought it would be a 60-day project, but they took all this data, and then and of course now it's a course and you pay to get the information. But what I'm saying, that's just another example of empowered women and people
Yes.
doing something that people say can't be done, but they did it.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. Yes.
that's, well, you asked me how I'm doing, and I want to reach those women. And I don't know exactly what the end goal is, but the end goal is find your point of genius. Let's empower you so you take action on it. Will it be a
Yes.
business? I don't know. Might be a ministry. Maybe you'll make money, maybe you won't. But we don't have much time on this earth.
Yes. Yes.
Like right now, I talk about being in the fourth quarter of my life, and then sometimes you sense that I'm impatient and angry. It's because I'm impatient and angry.
Huh?
Yeah, because I'm in the fourth quarter of my life, and the official just walked up to me and gave me the 2-minute warning.
Hmm.
You know what kind of pressure
Yes.
that is? That means every down counts. It's got to be a
Yes.
short pass, 6-yard gain, out of bounds. Manage the
Yes.
clock.
Yes.
We can't miss a pass. We can't go for the long play. 6 yards out of bounds, 6 yards out of bounds, 6 yards out of bounds, first down, field goal, win the game.
Yes. That's good.
But that's my sense of urgency. And then, and God has a perfect plan. I don't agree with it every day. I just don't like something. He says, drop the net on the right side here. And I said, I'm not that good. I don't want to do a daily vlog. But today the restaurant owner actually came out, walked down the hill, said, what are you doing? And I thought, oh, they're going to kick me out of here. I said, I create a daily video here. And she said, oh, really? And then she went to my Facebook page, said, I'm going to watch you today.
Oh, good.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I said,
it
I'll
is.
be live in about 2 minutes. And of course, the man David, who started the Bible study, it's way beyond his comfort zone. So I admire him.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was clear about that. He said he just didn't think he could do it, and so, but
How many are in the study?
well, today I went up there and about 4. Sometimes there are 8.
Oh, that's good.
You know, it's hey Geoffrey, I need a 1-minute break here because I've got
Go
to.
for it. Go for
Okay.
it. No problem.
My apologies.
No problem.
Hey Molly,
Hi.
I have my calendar over here, or Mom's calendar.
Okay,
With her busy. Hey, sorry about the time today. You had it right.
it's okay. It's okay.
Well,
I just have-
I had a noon Zoom and you had 12:45 and I had them both on my planner
Yeah.
and I got confused. My fault.
No problem at all.
We're talking about you, Geoffrey.
Can
Can you just shout out a date and a time and I'll get it written?
How long did we wait this last time? 8 weeks?
But, okay, well, Molly, give me a moment and. Wow. Molly, the 20, did that be right?
Was it June?
It was July the 23rd, looks like.
Okay.
So was it
Wanna
8?
wait that long?
Well, you tell me.
Her hair seems to do really well with TV.
Well, let's do that. Let's do
Yeah.
that.
Okay,
You look on your calendar there and I'll get it written down.
okay.
That puts us in November somewhere, right?
That's the first Friday of November.
First Friday of,
That'll be the November 5th.
can we do it the 12th? Because she has doctor's appointment on that day.
Yeah,
On the
hold on.
5th. The 12th?
I can do the 12th.
Okay, 12:45. I'm writing it down and talking out loud. 12:45, Molly. And that is November 12th.
Yeah.
Okay, Molly, got it.
All right.
Hey,
she's all
Molly,
set.
I really,
No problem at all. You're really so close.
I gotta get back.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. Bye, it was good to see you.
Molly,
Yeah, no problem.
we appreciate you.
No problem at all. I'll see you in a couple months.
Right, you be safe.
I will.
Hey, Geoffrey, sorry.
Hey, no problem.
I just knew we'd have that interruption, but I was trying to work around things here. But that's how I'm doing. I mean,
That's great.
I don't know what else. I mean, I took some major steps backwards to try to simplify and do one thing, and that is a 30-day sprint, daily video logs, and keep it concise. And of course, that builds a library.
Sure.
And it's on Facebook. And then I can also download it. And I started putting it on YouTube where I can put it in a playlist.
Mm-hmm.
And, along the way, learning technology, because, as soon as you learn it, it changes. And then learning how to best work with it instead of fight it.
Sure.
And trying to, along the way, create templates and just along the way, just some things hit you that you didn't see before. And I thought, with hundreds and hundreds of views, that feels good, but it's a meaningless metric unless you really look at it. That means that 1,000 people have seen me, but for 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't tap it, the first
Right.
step is that compelling image with some words on there that are compelling.
Yes. Yeah. To get them to listen.
Right. Because even a 15-second view is a big deal in our digital society.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and I guess you just don't see it until you see it.
One other area I've observed with you is
Okay.
your connection to children,
Right. Yes.
your grandchildren. the incredible interest you had and expressed, like, for example, with Daniel,
Yes,
and the fun you brought to their lives, the joy, the happiness in church that where you worked with kids and stuff like that. That seemed to me to be an area of your life that seemed to bring you a lot of joy.
well, it brings me a lot of joy. It really energizes me. Like as you can tell, this conversation really energizes me because I get way too focused on me and obstacles. And it's another reason I wanted to connect with women so that they can take a stronger role in the family. I mean, the women in our age group, for example, Barbara, she's a mother and a grandmother and a wife,
Yeah,
but it's a tremendously powerful position. She doesn't have a title, CEO and founder,
right,
but she is powerful
right.
because she controls the thought processes of another family or has an impact, as well as a grandchild.
Yes,
And gosh, my grandchildren are, the two oldest are 19 or 20. It won't be long until I have great grandbabies.
yes.
And I believe that it's a really a position of responsibility and tremendous impact if you handle it right.
Oh, yes.
I mean, the people that come and talk to me at Panera Bread, and even the conversation we have about me walking to and from work and caring for my mother, it's there are several groups there that talk about me.
Well, sure.
Well, but you're not aware of that until you realize that people were asking, well, you leave your computer here and what do you do? I said, well, I walk home. And then, of course, some people ask me, I mean, I walk 6 to 8 miles a day, which some old guys came to me. It impacted them as far as, wow, if this old guy can do it, this old guy could do 1 mile a day. So,
Sure.
but yeah, I mean, your point was connection to children. And my response to that is that's good to know. And the women, the Esthers in the world, have tremendous power and make tremendous impact on their adult children and their grandchildren. And
You're not
soon
kidding.
they're tremendous impact.
You're not
And
kidding.
maybe they've never worked outside the home, but they sure have worked all their lives.
Sure.
Um,
Well,
and
God has given me a much greater appreciation for Barbara.
oh,
Probably,
good.
probably in the last year. It's a long story that I'll share more with you as we go.
Yeah,
But
but it's a good story. It sounds encouraging.
it took, some major change for me to understand and appreciate her the way she deserves. And a lot of men are in my place. They don't get it. They don't get
I
what
agree.
they don't get it what they're doing. They don't get what they're missing, and they don't get what they're doing to their wife.
Right. See, and
And
the encouraging thing is you're in the fourth quarter of your life and you're now recognize it. And I'm sure there's some grief there and disappointment, but you're still living in the present and doing something.
well, I told my guys this morning, it took me over 70 years to figure out how discipleship works. And the most fruitful season of my life has been the last 3 years. And it blew them away,
But Geoffrey, you're living in the 2-minute warning, like I just described,
Yes,
but games are won and lost in the 2-minute warning.
that's right. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And this is,
miracles
this is
happen there.
I know they do. I'm a testimony to that, boy. I mean, they're happening to me in multiple ways. But the guys, even this morning, one of them just kind of stopped and made an observation. He said, you just told us that you know, been a believer and been involved in discipleship at one level or other most of your life, but you just now figured out how it works,
Yeah,
you know, and you're seeing the most fruit in your ever in your ministry in your life. And they were kind of, they just wanted to pause and take that in, you know. It's like we haven't thought about that, you know. We always, and of course I didn't think about it either. All those years, he said, what happened was that all those years, you know, you may think they were wasted, but God was preparing you all those years for these years.
I agree entirely.
And so you may be in the most important, vital, critical season of your life in ministry.
And I believe that I am. I just appreciate you saying that. The and it's amazing. You know, we all have blind spots. You can't see what you can't see. You can't hear what you can't hear. And I have 70. I have for 30, even 40 years had people tell me, you need to write. Your writing is good. I've heard that so many times. And it's not false humility. I just looked at it and I thought, I can't believe them. And then here I am 25 years later, little babies that I coached telling me that based on what I told them, that's why they did what they did.
Yes,
Because I was the only really strong, positive male in their life that said, you can do this.
yes.
You can't waste all that, Geoffrey. That's what I'm
No,
seeing.
no. And
I mean,
the
think
thing
of
is,
that. Thousands, I've poured thousands of hours into you with technology and so on. And now you're going to Africa like a warrior. You can't waste that. You got
oh,
it.
listen. I mean, if you could read some of the stuff that I'm getting back from my guys now, you would be proud of what you did with
Oh, I
me,
am. I am.
because
Um,
they are doing it. They are doing it. I mean, those guys. I told the guys this morning. I said, I spent all my life coaching guys in discipleship, but God boiled it down to 5 guys.
right.
And these 5 guys are creating havoc in Africa.
Yeah. You're, the language I use this morning with myself is find Esther and weaponize her.
That's right. That's right. So I
Find
told,
Esther and weaponize her,
yeah.
and
So I
then
told,
teach the people around you this 2-minute drill. Go ahead, please.
oh yes, absolutely. So
Yeah.
I told him, I said, it's not how many you disciple, it's how well you disciple a few.
Right.
Because you know, I had to vet hundreds of pastors to find those 5 guys.
Oh, yes.
But once I found them, they would do anything for me. They were waiting on what is the next thing I need to do. They just tell me, I'll go do it.
And you never know when you deliver the right thing at the right time. In my group, there's a Spanish couple, and they live in Mexico City, Mexico. And all they wanted to do was help parents parent better.
Okay.
Which just, you know, so many people are looking for this great succinct goal, how to make $10,000 in a week online, you know.
Yeah.
But these people, and they impact 5 million families per day.
Oh, wow.
And they've done it in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And the money that goes with it is commensurate. But in Jeff Walker's group, most of those people that earn these dollars are building schools and
Yeah.
helping other people start things.
Yeah.
I just don't see anybody driving a high-end vehicle unless somebody gave it to them.
Well, you
Because
know, that's
they
right.
didn't know. Yeah, go ahead.
You could do a series on how to help your kids succeed.
Yes.
I mean, you've got so many stories that you've told me about ways you've encouraged kids and motivated kids and challenged kids. Dads don't have a clue.
Oh, they don't. They don't know how to coach a sport either.
Yeah,
They do it all wrong.
if you just said, Dad, here are 10 ways to motivate your children or your kids, or dads, here are 6 ways to motivate your son.
See, and we just talked about the purpose-driven life and how it morphs into different age groups. I look at what I'm doing because I've seen others do the same, is to focus, to build a template, to be extremely micro focused on these women in this age group. And then I believe from there, I'm going to find others. I'm going to find that 50-year-old woman that wants to focus on her children.
Sure.
I mean, I've already located some, but they don't quite see the dream that I see.
Yes.
But that's in response to what you said, where someone will come along and say, let's take these ideas and teach dads how to be dads.
Yes. Yes. Boy, there's a need for that because most men don't, they're so disconnected from their children. They're caught in the trap of trying to provide for their family and meet the needs of their wife and
Right.
do, they're in this crazy world trying to keep the family afloat, and they're neglecting their wives and they're justifying it. I would raise my hand to that one. I've used my wife, my ministry as a mistress. I've been
Yes.
married to my ministry, and neglected my wife in many ways, and that I regret, but the good news is that there is never too late to change.
No.
Never too
No.
late for God to get your attention and to help you change, and I've been asking for a long time. The guys on Men in the Mirror, they would ask, John asked us at the end, what's your prayer request? And my request was that God would help me love my wife better, or that God would help me love Barbara the way she deserves. That's my prayer request, and they've been praying for me. And you know what? God's delivering.
And
I'm doing that I'm changing, there's things happening in my life, my attitude, my patience. I'm dealing with my anger.
yes.
It's like God is changing me. And that's what, he's in the business of is, Jesus said a disciple is somebody who follows him, who allows him to transform them, and who joins him in his mission. Follow me and I'll make you fishers of men.
Right.
That's what a disciple is. So it's never too late to follow him, to let him change you, and to join him in his mission.
Well, the one thing that you describe is an infinite game. In other words, it comes from some other place that I'll take credit for. It is the finite game versus the infinite game.
Yeah.
So the finite game is that football game I just described.
Yeah.
But as a dad, and you're coaching these little people at age 5,
yes.
The infinite game is, what do they see in your character? What do they see in their challenges that they will use the rest of their life, and they'll transfer to their great grandchildren when you've been gone 100 years? That's the infinite game.
Boy, that is such an important point. Rick made that point in his purpose-driven life this week. That same point. He said, life is just a training season for eternity.
And then within life, there are many finite and infinite games. I mean, for example, my grandson Lucas played soccer when he was younger. Middle school, he went out for the soccer team in middle school. Now he's an athlete, he's in shape, but his soccer skills weren't there. So first cut, he made it. Second cut, he made it. Third cut, he didn't. Now that would bother some people. And we had talked about each cut in the process. And within 2 or 3 minutes, he saw people running around the track where he had just been cut. He got on the track and started to run with him. Well, within about 3 minutes, he was on the cross country team.
Yeah.
And then he started winning. In short order, by about the third race, he became their number one runner on the cross country team, where he had
Yeah.
no experience and the coach didn't have a clue. It's just
Yeah.
not. But so there was a finite game where he didn't make the soccer team. So he makes the cross country team and he kept praying that they would lose because he kept going to another level. And finally, he went to some kind of state competition and finished third.
Oh,
But
man.
But again, you look at that as a finite game, but it's just an infinite game because then he started playing volleyball and he was the most fit player on that team and he's left-handed. So he became a game changer, a deal maker, deal breaker for the other team on volleyball.
Wow.
And so you have to look at the finite game versus the infinite game.
Yeah.
And what did he learn during that process?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And what kind of man did he become
right.
in that process? That's the infinite game. Like when you share your story about a husband, and you could look at it and say, for 70 years, I didn't do so well. Maybe even I failed for 70 years. But that's not the infinite game. And then when you share with others, you create another series of infinite games.
Yeah.
Of guys saying, maybe I could do better. And maybe even though I'm living in the 2-minute warning zone, maybe I can make a difference.
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
a big deal, Geoffrey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they're listening to our stories, Alvin, and they're saying, man, God could do that for that old man.
Yeah.
Do it for me. And I don't have to wait till I'm 70.
and I wear a chip on my shoulder in some way. And some people think I'm really arrogant, but I tell people to their face, I've told you this, that an old guy sitting in the corner of Panera Bread, whom other people ignore, with a computer can change the world, one person at a time.
Kidding.
And I'm here to show you that it can be done.
You're not kidding.
It might happen when I'm deceased. Doesn't matter, but I believe that we have that. You have studied discipleship all your life, and you're learning it in the 2-minute warning.
That's true.
And it can be a game changer, not necessarily for you and your guys, but for the spectators watching. You have 80,000 spectators watching you in the stadium, and they're saying, this is how you run a 2-minute drill.
Yeah. I started telling that story late in our hour together this morning, and normally we don't run over.
Right.
And I got so passionate about what I was sharing with them because I'm looking at, 8 other guys.
Right.
And I know what God has done for me, he can do or is doing for them. But we talked about in the group, what do you want on your tombstone? What's the last message? What is the last message you want to communicate? If you had to choose, what is the last message you would communicate to your friends or the people are closest to you?
Yeah.
What would you have written on your tombstone? What is the thing in life that has meant the most to you that you had to, and you wanted to share your last words? What would they be? And that really, that sobered all of us. We were all thinking about that, and So I got into my story, you know, and I just said, you know, what I want on my tombstone is follow Jesus. That's the most important thing I could ever say to anybody, because that's the thing that has changed me the most, has made my life more fulfilling, more joyful, more exciting, more adventurous, more complete. There's nothing that more than my relationship with Jesus that has filled me up and filled my cup and made me a happy camper.
And part of that infinite game is the other guys that heard that, and they'll be thinking about it all week till the next meeting. And another part of that infinite game is people like John Anderson, who is a connector. I mean, you have a ripple effect, and you create a ripple effect in John Anderson's life.
Yeah. I caught myself and I thought I'm talking too much, and I apologized to
No,
him. I said, I apologized to him. I said, guys, I know I'm preaching now, so I'll hush up. And they said, no, keep going.
yeah,
I mean, it's like they were just like mesmerized because they were hearing a real life story from an old man that was finally the light bulb had come on for him.
right.
You know, and they were, and so we went till 20 minutes after 8. Now,
Right.
I didn't do all the talking because I
Right.
stopped and I said, guys, uh, John actually asked them, you know, to give me feedback, and they were,
Right.
they said, they just sat there and looked at the screen. Nobody said anything for 15, 20 seconds. And I said to them, hey, listen, guys, don't leave me hanging. You know,
Yeah.
I've bared my soul to you here. I need feedback. Talk to me. What did I say that made sense, and what did I say that didn't make sense? I've got to hear something from you.
Yeah, right.
And then one by one, they begin to tell me what part of my story they connected to. And 3 or 4 or 5, well, 5 of them jumped in, and after what he had finished, John would say, who else? You know, that's the power of story.
Well, and then Geoffrey, if you were going to take that information and design a course or a marketing plan, what they told you is what they want. And so if you can enter that conversation in their brain like you did, all you have to do is enter your conversation in the brain of other people like them.
Yes.
And then you have the tool in place to change the world.
Yes. Yes. I mean, if it affected them, it'll affect other people.
Oh, Geoffrey, I just, my little market niche is about 20 million people, the one I described to
Oh,
you.
is that all?
Yeah, but when you narrow it like that, they're extremely interested in, you know, the values I have to share.
Sure.
Maybe not all of them, but think of what you can do in a movement with 1 million people.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
I'm just saying the fact that they listened and they shared, I really hope you took notes on that, because that is what other people want. And then you have a tool that helps them do that.
Well, part of it was just that we were talking about what really matters in life.
Right.
Our tombstone. What do we want to leave behind? And normally we want to leave behind the thing that has made was of most value to us. You know, you want that for your grandchildren. You want that for your children. You know, that's what you want to leave behind, is not just what you did, but who you are.
Right.
And why you are who you are.
Yeah, and they pay attention. They're listening, they're watching. This was from one of Carrie Newhoff's podcasts. And he was talking to one of his mentors, and one of his mentors mentioned a person that had the most influence on him in his life was a person from a 12-step program. And I reference it often.
Yes.
And because in the 12-step program, they have heart-to-heart, gut-to-gut conversations, which cannot be duplicated, where you develop trust, like what you're doing with your Friday group.
Yes.
People need to have systems like that, be involved, and then also replicate them. But they don't, if you're not in a 12-step program, well, how do you do it? Well, you grab the tool that Geoffrey has and you meet with another guy.
Right.
That's
Meet
your
with
new
another guy,
12-step group.
and then you build a small group of those guys that
Right.
have the same passion,
Well, and then
like a leadership team.
well, and it doesn't even have to be called that. Like the 12th step in AA or in all these anonymous programs, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of working these steps.
Yes.
You work the step, having had a spiritual awakening,
Yes.
not quitting drinking, not quitting drugs, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of working these steps, we tried to carry the message to others. That's straight out of the Bible.
Yes. Absolutely.
And there's no quota system. There's no
Yes.
Excel spreadsheet that says you got to
Yeah.
you try to carry the message to others. How? You become a visible guy at Panera Bread.
Yes.
After a while, people come over and say, "What are you doing?" I said, I watch porn all day. I'm like, "No, what are you doing?" And I tell them exactly what I'm doing.
Well,
Um,
here's something else you can tell them.
Yeah.
You can tell them, I'm having you can tell them using your words. Okay,
Right.
this is my words. I'm having a ministry with hundreds of pastors in Africa,
Right.
because we've developed. We're developing with our key leaders as they're
Right.
building their teams. 3 phases, the 9 steps, the leadership series that you helped me teach
Right.
of how to build a leadership team. So you're ministering to hundreds of pastors in Africa
Thank you.
via
Yeah.
technology, and you're hosting, a whole series of leadership training
Yeah.
message lessons, right, for pastors
Right.
in Africa. And who knows who they're going to share the same thing with, because we're multiplying individuals and teams in over 23 countries now. And this coming year, we're going to probably reach 10 more countries, and we're going to ultimately reach all 54 countries.
And
Your series of leadership training tapes that you engineered and hosted and worked with me on is a key part of that movement.
thank you.
It's going to be a key part probably of the movement of others, because I'm training my guys to send that same series to their guys and challenge it and hold them accountable to use it.
Well, I mean, you build the series, that's the finite game. The ripple effect that you just described is the infinite game, and it has an infinite ripple effect. It won't stop.
That's right. Now, when you and I get to heaven, you're going to have people come up to you, say, "Alvin, thank you so much for what you did."
We'll be fist bumping a whole lot of people speaking Swahili, right?
Thank you. That you don't know what that series of leadership tapes meant to me.
Right.
I didn't have a clue as a pastor. I've been a pastor for 50 years, and I didn't know how to build a team. Nobody ever taught me. You know, but you taught me. I got that series and I watched it and I loved it, and I thought you were so funny and you did such a good job, and you helped Geoffrey, stick with it and do what he needed to do to help us too. And, it's like, come on.
Yeah,
Does
you-
it get any better than that?
no, it doesn't. And what's really interesting is, I have my own language, and it's intentional because I just know certain language chases away my audience. You know that. You and I have talked about this for
Yeah.
years. And then this man, David, who started the Bible study, came over to me, and I was talking to him about the video I was going to create today. And he looked at me and said, "You're a believer, aren't you?" I said, "Well, of course I am. But what I'm saying is my language is not the language you and Steve would use. But if you're walking the walk, people see it.
Well, I
Could
believe.
be obvious. I
Yeah,
hope.
absolutely. That's so true. And I think this is, I hope our tape holds us for a couple of minutes here, because I
Yeah,
gotta tell
okay,
you
that's
this.
fine. I tell you, you
God
finished.
has created each of us uniquely. He's created
Yes.
you uniquely. He's given you the ability to relate to and communicate to a certain audience.
Yes,
For Steve and I, we can talk to pastors.
yes.
We can talk their language. Okay. You would have a difficult time doing that.
Yeah, they don't like me. Let's just be clear. They don't like me.
Okay. But you have an ability to talk to people that are on the edge, that
Right,
are not believers, that need to be related to where they are.
exactly.
And that's the thing that I think God has used you in my life to bring attention to me. And Steve and I are creating an additional section of information in step 4 of natural discipleship
Right,
to help people. That's the step on how to start spiritual conversations.
right.
And we're using a lot of the things that I've learned from you
Good.
about how do you develop rapport with somebody that's not interested in spiritual things.
Right.
You're an expert at that. And thankfully God gave me the good sense to understand that
Yeah,
along the way, and to learn a whole lot from you about, hey, you can't approach everybody with your spiritual
right.
terminology. Talk to them about exegesis in the Bible, you know,
Yeah.
you know,
I just think
but
exegesis is a Friday night drug you use to get high.
but he said, if your audience is pastors, you don't necessarily talk to them like they're a lost person.
Right,
You talk to them a different way. You talk to them in their cultural language, where they are, not where you want them to be, but where they are. And so the thing that's magical for me about this is that I need to train pastors with their PhD in theology how to establish rapport with a guy who doesn't care.
right.
That's part of my training in the 9
Yeah.
steps. So,
And that is a challenge.
well, and so that's why Steve and I've been wrestling with this. I've been talking to him about, we haven't taught people in the church how to establish rapport with unchurched people or people that are marginal. So
Right.
if we're going to train Christians to start a spiritual conversation, we need to train them first of all, how to establish rapport, because you can't just jump in and start talking about spiritual things.
Right.
You gotta meet people where they are. You gotta love them where they are, not where you want them to be.
Well, and Geoffrey, there's a wealth of opportunity right now, because in the US of A, is there one person left who's not afraid of current events? I think everyone carries some kind of fear with them of current events.
Oh, yes.
That's a great place to start.
Yes.
Because I've had to have people remind me again and again that I'm not in control. I'm not in charge. God is. and he will use this and have a solution. That's the only way I can sleep at night. But I'm saying, here's another gift. God gave us 2020. It was a gift. Shut
Yeah.
the doors on buildings.
Yeah.
Didn't shut the door on what he's doing. We have another gift, and it's a huge amount of trauma and fear. But that's your conversation right there.
Yeah. I'll give you a good example, real quick.
Sure.
Barbara met this guy in our neighborhood and became friends as, you know, out doing her bike ride.
Right.
And his name's Robert. And Robert's a non-believer.
Okay.
And he cusses and, you know, he's, you know, and he apologizes to Barbara because he, you know, and she said, I'm not your judge. You know, she just loves him where he is. She don't, you
Yeah,
know,
she's good at that.
and so he came over here. I've been trying to get rid of a bunch of junk and stuff. He came over here, came in and brought his truck. I got a trailer. He hitched it up to his trailer. He hauled off over 1,000 pounds of metal. And I rode to the place where we sold it and unloaded it. And he kept telling Barbara he was afraid to meet me because he knew I was a pastor.
Yeah, I know that fear.
He was afraid to meet me. I mean, and Barbara told me a couple of times. Now, when you talk to Robert, don't do this or don't say that, or, you know, she was trying to warn me, you know. So on this, I said, don't worry, you know, I've got this, you know. So on the truck ride over there, nothing spiritual came up. I just talked to him and I asked him a whole bunch of questions. I established rapport with him. We just had the best time. We enjoyed the ride over there and back. We enjoyed getting rid of the junk. And he taught me a new skill, you know, about how to make money with junk. And
That's a great skill.
And she was over there yesterday, and he said he was talking about me. He says, "Boy, I really had a good time with your husband the other day. You know, we had a good talk, and he was you know, it's like the fear was gone
Yeah.
from that preacher man. You know why? Because I understood his language. I understood that God called me to love him where he is, not where I want him to be. And I just loved him. I just enjoyed him. I made it about him. You know, that's the message that I want to train all of our disciples.
Well, and see, and I wrote that down as you said it. He was afraid to meet Geoffrey because Geoffrey is a pastor. Now, and also I heard something maybe that you didn't hear, and that is Barbara did all the heavy lifting.
Oh yeah.
She did. And what I'm saying is your neighbor was afraid to meet Geoffrey because Geoffrey is a pastor. I mean, that speaks volumes about how people see us. And Geoffrey, it's not your fault because he never met you. It's the history that we created.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's because that is the core of the work that you and Steve have to do in communicating to guys like me. Because I think there are a whole lot of guys like me. They're not non-believers, but they're in the closet because I don't want to be someone who is avoided because of my belief system. That man would not meet you because you're a pastor. There's a big message there. It's not about you.
Yeah. Here's the succinct issue.
Yeah.
Your fear, the fear of the person who doesn't know the pastor is judgment.
Judge, yeah, that's the word I had here.
That's the fear. The challenge for the pastor is to not judge him.
Yeah.
Don't judge him. Just take your junk over there, have a good time, make a conversation about him, love him where he is.
Yeah.
You know, and then he'll realize, well, this guy's maybe not as bad as I thought he was, you know. I mean,
yeah. Um, my brother and I had nearly, we talked about this. We nearly had the same experience yesterday. I finally we went to the lake with his boat, and actually nothing worked too well, but then two guys drove by in kind of an older car, and they're both, I mean, the car was nearly dragging the bottom. I mean, they were both about 500 pounds each. And they drove past us and they came back and they stopped and we rolled down their window. And then when they started talking, they were the nicest guys. They just wanted to talk about fishing. And then afterwards, my brother and I, we had done the same thing. He hesitated rolling down the window. We had prejudged them harshly. We don't like these guys. We don't want to talk to them. I mean, our judgment was harsh.
Okay.
And we shared it with each other. And then you start talking. I said, yeah, these are the kind of guys you can spend a whole afternoon with just talking about fishing without fishing.
Yeah.
But see, and that's the obstacle you have right in front of you. Your neighbor doesn't want to come over to your house and swear and then have to apologize, pardon my language.
Yeah.
And Barbara broke that barrier.
She didn't care.
No, she didn't care.
I mean, she, wait a minute. I should say that differently. I think she did care, but it didn't keep her from loving him, you know?
Yeah, right. Right.
And she just, I think she told him, I'm not your judge, you know?
Yeah. But all those preconceived ideas, I mean, they're your problem and my problem, but it's not because of you and not because of me, but it's all that years of history.
Yeah.
Where, grandma said, if you drink a beer, you're going straight to hell.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's
And,
right.
and that's your challenge.
And because of, it's painful for somebody to judge you. It's painful. And you can deal with that pain your whole life.
Oh, and
Feeling judged, you know,
my
feeling
brother
like
and I, yeah.
you know, and saying, I don't want to, you know, I ain't stupid, you know, I don't want somebody else to judge me, you know, but that fear of judgment keeps you from wonderful relationships with people and loving other people where they are that are different from you.
Oh, and my brother and I, the good thing about that is as we were driving away, we got to talk about it and process it. And I said, it's so sad. I didn't want to talk to those guys. They're so fat. Their car was bottoming out. They're just your normal looking hick guys around here with the sleeveless shirt and tattoos. And my judgment was in the weight issue because, I mean,
Yes.
You could hear the car hitting the wheels as they drove by. And then I shared that and I said, my brother said, I judged them and judged them and judged them. Isn't that sad? I mean, it's right there in front of us. You couldn't avoid the topic. And, but it was those two guys in the car, it wasn't their fault.
Right.
It was all of our history and
idea. I know. That was what was so appealing to people about Jesus.
Yeah.
The story of the woman at the well.
Yeah.
You know, he asked her, one of the questions he asked her, is she married? And she said, no. He said, yeah, you've been married 5 times and you're living with somebody else right now, you know, but he wasn't judging her. He was a Jewish rabbi talking to a Samaritan woman that he wasn't supposed to be talking to.
Right.
And he wasn't, he didn't judge her. He just said, you know, the first thing he did was he asked her a question.
Right.
Can you give me a drink? That's how you start relationships. You ask people questions. I mean, that one story is the picture of how to develop rapport with somebody, you know. Now she was so captured by Jesus that she went back to her village. She told everybody about there's a man
Right.
who told me things about me that I didn't even know, that he didn't even know about me, you know. And the whole village followed her out to meet him. They wanted to know who was this man, you know, who, you know, was so kind to her and engaged her, and he was a Jew.
You know,
He
and
wasn't supposed to be talking to her.
I get that. And to your point with you and Steve is, I mean, the relevant trending ideas. Uh, I don't say this online because you don't have control of the comment thread, but I mean, Geoffrey, what do you think is going to kill you first, COVID or a terrorist? I mean, that'll open up some kind of conversation about fear.
Oh yes, yeah.
Or,
And
you
then
know,
a follow-up question is how do you deal with fear?
yeah, or they might ask you, is this, you know, I'm afraid to trust in a vaccine. I'm afraid to trust in our government. The only reason I can sleep at night is my health coach tells me, Alvin, you're not in charge anymore. That's the only reason I can sleep at night, because I've had some sleepless nights.
Yeah,
That's how you can connect with me and a
I
million other
know.
guys
I
like me.
know. I know. I know.
And
See, we're going to be able to incorporate this in our training. And then step 4 of how to initiate spiritual conversations. That's going to be a part of all of you know, it's going to bring uniqueness to our brand of disciple making.
yeah, I would say that somehow you could do it via audio and video and somehow in print. It's just have some candid, real role plays
Yeah.
on,
Well,
on
if you give me permission, I can share this tape with them.
sure, you know, like this, or, you know, Barbara broke the ice, you know, hey dude, nice dog. You know, I walk my dog every day.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how long a woman will talk with you if you just will say nice shoes?
Oh, yeah.
I said
Yeah.
that once to and I knew that shoes were her deal just by
Yeah.
looking at it, because they matched everything on
Yeah.
her. And I could not get away from this very attractive, well-dressed lady when I mentioned her shoes. And, you know, and I did, how many pairs do you have? Say, 200-300 pairs. But I'd rather have shoes than a man.
Yeah.
And she told me things that I would have never asked.
Oh man. One of the
And
things, excuse me, finish.
no, it's just, and it was a simple thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of took the risk. If I die, I die. She might tell me it's none of my damn business.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Or she's, you know, I mean, she only paid $400 for the shoes or whatever, and her outfit only cost $3,000. But she's
Yeah.
about ready to talk about it.
Yeah. You're not kidding. You're not kidding. Barbara
And
tells me another insight. Barbara tells me the way other men treat her, she's very observant.
yes,
Barbara is a very outgoing, fun loving,
right,
she's easy to tease.
right.
And so I find other men like to tease her because they think, well, you know, she's naive. And
Right.
so, and I've observed that about other men and the way they relate to her too. But she said to me the other day, you know, I talked to so-and-so, and he really wanted to talk to me. We really had
Yeah.
an interesting conversation. And she said she was really touched by another man who would respect her and want to have a conversation with her, not just tease her or just, you know, treat her like, you know,
I
oh, I
get
can
it.
have some fun here, you know.
It's,
Everybody wants to be respected. Nobody wants to be judged. If
I
we could
agree.
get that, that God's message is love. Love people where they are, and love is respect.
I agree.
You know, that's Jesus' message, the big one, the great commandment.
Yeah.
That's the big one, you know. Just love people God brings into your life where they are. Don't judge them. You know, God's the judge. You know, you just love them where they are, and that's the way you establish rapport and initiate relationships.
Yeah. And then people will know. People will say, "You're a person of faith, aren't you?"
Absolutely. It's just like you. I mean, your sensitivity to that your audience has given you a cultural language that you know is safe with them.
Right. It is.
And you've used that language. When you use that language around Christians who've been Christians and been in a Christian culture, they know that man noticed it. He noticed that you were a believer, even though you were speaking a little bit a different language than
Right.
his quote mature Christian language.
Right.
Okay. Now, we all want to fit in, right?
Oh,
If you
yes.
move to France, you want to figure out how do French people talk? How do they, you know, how do I say the right thing so I don't offend them or whatever? So when you're in a certain culture, you want to talk their language, right?
Yes.
It's not that that's the only language or the right language to talk to everybody with, but it's the right one for that culture.
Right.
Okay. So it's not wrong for spiritual people to for pastors to talk with more mature people about exegesis. What is
Right.
exegesis? You know, it's just interpretation of the Bible. It's the Greek word for interpretation for the Bible. Well, people who are growing in their spiritual life and want to learn more about it and want to know more about it, that's appealing to them. They like to know the more, you know, intelligent terms, you know, to be able to articulate their faith and what they believe and how they believe and so forth. So they'll drop that word exegesis in conversations along the way, you know, to let people know that they, you know, that they are serious Bible students and so forth. Well, you know, sometimes you could say some people would be offended by that. You know, what are you using those words nobody understands?
Right.
Well, if you drop that word in a group that weren't spiritually mature, that didn't care two hoots about spirituality, it would mean nothing.
Well, and the thing that we don't necessarily realize is that they are as judgmental as we are. Once you drop that word, you drew a firm line in the sand.
Yes.
Saying, you are not one of me. And the sad thing is, based on the way we normally operate, is they will not hear anything from you again. From that moment forward, and you're then labeled, and you slam the door shut, and it's based on their judgment.
Yes.
But that is a word that will slam, it's a deal breaker, not just in that conversation, but in all conversations going forward.
Yeah. And the big fail is that was not an act of love.
Right.
You don't do that to people that you know can't relate.
Yeah.
All that is your ego trying to impress somebody with your spiritual biblical knowledge.
You just
That's
told me
ego.
you went to school. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Who cares? You know,
Yeah.
that audience is like, who cares? You know,
Yeah.
I don't care. But
They,
if you're a Bible student and you're growing in your faith and you're learning more and more And then somewhere along in one of your Bible groups with, more people that are a little more mature in that culture, and somebody drops that word in, you're curious, it's
Right.
not offensive. You're just saying, what does that mean? What does exegesis mean? I've never heard of that before.
Right.
Well, it's a term that we learned in seminary.
Right.
It's a term for Bible interpret. That's a way, the Greek word for interpretation.
Yeah.
That's all.
Hey, Geoffrey,
This has been good.
this afternoon is my mom's time, so I'm going to get lunch ready.
Thank you for your time. We
Oh
spend
yeah.
extra here.
You tell me if this time next week works for you.
Yeah, let's just do this.
Okay. Now I'm looking at my calendar. I mess up on dates sometimes. More lately than okay.
We've gone more than 40 minutes. They must be
Yeah, so
letting you-
evidently, yeah. So that's good. So then we're talking about the 17th. And I'm writing down noon, and that's going to be 1 o'clock your time.
1 o'clock on the 17th. Got you.
Right. And noon my time. And I'm just going to put 1 p.m. in parentheses. All right. Hey, good. Geoffrey, that's great.
Great time together, brother.
We got in somewhere, but appreciate your wisdom. All right.
I appreciate yours too.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Keep the faith. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
man. Bye.
Okay. Bye.